I'm live, I'm live, I'm live. Oh, my second coffee of the day. It's been a day today. If you've been following me, I've done quite a few live shows today. But look, if you've just joined me, my name's Jason from septictank.co.uk. And this is where I do a live Q&A, answer your questions, and hopefully fix your problems. And yeah, well, welcome. And so if this is the first time you've joined me, then go to septictank.co.uk, and there you'll find more about me, more about what I do, more about my company. You'll find loads of free videos, loads of free advice. You can ring me, and you can catch up with any broadcasts that you've missed. And if you want to catch my live shows, then you can go there and do that too. So, okay, let's crack on with this show then. Hello. All right, it's all right. All right, so questions. Let's have a look. Okay, so thank you very much, by the way, for all your lovely questions and for taking the time out of your busy schedule, your busy lives to watch me. So, all right then. So let's have a look at these questions. All right. Well, I answered that yesterday. I answered about the dog poop question yesterday. Answered the one about the EN12566. Okay, so that's quite a good question. I might just go with that one then. Okay, so this is a very good question. The what's his name? Roy has asked me there. Okay, so am I able? Okay, I get it. I've got it. All right. Okay. Sorry, I haven't got my glasses on. Okay. So Roy's asking, how easy is it to cut yourself off from your neighbour's septic tank? So I take it he lives in a terraced, semi-detached house. Okay, fine. Okay, so let me show you then, Roy. If I draw it on here, it'll be easier. So let's pretend this is, okay, you'll have to forgive me. You'll have to forgive me and my drawing today. It's been a long day today and I'm tired, but don't get me wrong, I love answering your questions. Okay, so let me give you a scenario. I think I've done this before actually for people, but if I just do it again, then I can show you a few things, right? A few alternatives. All right, so there's two houses, okay? All right, so let's say that's the fence and there's the fence down the garden there. All right, so let's say at the moment then, this is Roy's house and it goes into a septic tank in the neighbour's garden. There we go. So that's the septic tank, and let's say that's the soakaway. All right, and they obviously also go into the same system. So being on a shared system can be quite a nightmare, actually, because you're dictated to by the people that own it. All right, so their liquid leaves their house and fills the septic tank up. Their wastewater leaves their house and fills their house up. And then the wastewater makes its way down there into the soakaway. So let's say, obviously you've got to have the space, right? Well, they must have the space if they've got a septic tank and soakaway in there. But let's say their gardens, let's give you a rough size, are anywhere from 100 to 150 foot in length. Now it could be 50 foot in length, it could be 25 foot in length, but I'm just keeping, rough, typically average dimensions of this kind of scenario, right? There's lots of variables to this. So, okay, so let's say Roy lives in this house and I don't know, the Joneses live in that one, right? Now, shared systems can be a nightmare because whenever these people who own the septic tank, whenever they decide to empty it, whenever they decide to repair it, maintain it, replace it, legally you've got to give them 50% when they demand it. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean to be disrespectful by saying they demand it. What I mean by that is, if you don't get on with your neighbours, then they can demand it. If they're only speaking to you by a proxy, or text messages, or a letter through the door of the solicitor, then, you know, if they could say, oh, the system, it's knackered now and it needs replacing, or we've had to get it emptied 3 times this month, and you have to go hard with them, and it can cause real stress and aggravation, okay? It really, really can. So if that's your scenario, right, if that's your situation, well, let me put your mind at rest and show you a really easy way in which you can disconnect from them. Right. If their septic tank, if you've been connected to their septic tank for a while, i.e. before the 1st of Jan 2015, then you can disconnect from their septic tank system and put your own septic tank system in without going through it, without getting planning permission or applying for building regs. That's the law on the .gov website. So let me just get my sponge here. So what you would just do is this, right? Well, if I just show you, I'll make it even simpler. Right, so I'd go for something like a bullet septic tank. They're almost like a submarine. It can either go that way or it could go that way, okay? It's irrelevant which way it goes, but obviously you're going to have an inlet and an outlet, or an inlet and an outlet. So, you know, depending on the configuration of your garden, stuff like that, you can, the bullet tanks are really shallow, they're easy to put in, take about 40 minutes to put in, an hour, something like that for the DIY market. But anyway, let's say you went for a bullet septic tank. It can be any septic tank, but I'm just giving you some tips on which ones are good and which ones are bad. The bad ones would be like an onion tank, massive tanks here. They're cheap to buy up front by a couple £100, but by the time you've put them in, you've spent maybe 2 to 3, 4 times the amount that you've originally bought it for. So, for example, let me give you an example. An onion septic tank can cost you, with the VAT, about £650. A bullet septic tank is about 150 quid dearer. But with the onion tanks, you've got to get a bigger digger, you've got to put more, you've got to concrete around them, which is another 300, 400, 500, 600 quid. Oh, it takes an extra day or 2 to do. You've got to get another digger in. So whereas a bullet septic tank would literally cost you, yeah, 150 quid more and a tiny bit of gravel, it would cost you probably to get one installed about, to put your own in, let's say about 750. The onion tank, by the time you've concreted around it and put it in, it's about 1,350. So anyway, that was the tip. I don't mean to kind of digress. So you put your bullet tank in, right? You can literally cut yourself off from the pipe that was actually going. You'd spur off, right, from the pipe. So the pipe was originally attached to this way, but you'd actually cut a section out of that pipe, and then you'd spur off and actually run it into your new septic tank, okay? And then from there, it goes into an inspection chamber or a German silt chamber. What they are, they're like a manhole chamber, but they've got a special filter system in there. So if there are any baby wipes or nappies or sanitary towels go down there, they stop them going any further, because from there, let's say you're putting a soak away in something like Easy Drain, something like that, right? They will actually stop and trap all the sanitary towels and all the muck. They'll trap it in here, and you can just lift the lid and pull it out, but it still allows the water to carry on flowing through. Okay, so that is how I would cut myself off from the neighbour's system. And as I said, there's not a lot of red tape now. The government have made it very easy for people to do that. Before, you would have had to apply for all sorts of, you'd have to fill in loads of applications and forms and permits and stuff like that. But now, as I said, the law stands that if it's before the 1st of Jan 2015, then you can just put a new system in. It doesn't have to be like for like. You can just put whatever septic tank and soakaway system in that you want. So I hope that's answered your question, Roy. So that's that. But listen, thanks very much for your questions. I really, really appreciate them. And, you know, it's what I love doing. Answering questions and helping people. So let's have a look at your next questions. Okay, so okay, there's an interesting one. We've had our soakaway rodded and jetted, but it's still not cleared it. Why? Oh, okay, very good question indeed. Okay, so let's just keep this simple. Let's pretend that is a soakaway pipe. It could be an old soakaway pipe. It could be made of clay. Could be made of orange pipe with slits underneath. There's loads of different soakaway pipes, to be honest with you. But a soakaway pipe is a soakaway pipe is a soakaway pipe. They just work differently, but it's still a pipe, okay? And what happens is this, is that over time, fat and grease and sludge, right, clog up the pipes. All right, so let's pretend that's fat. And the fat comes from dishwashers, you know, all the vegetables. People put vegetable oil down the drains, from soaps, which is made from animal fats, from, you know, our own human waste that's made from fats and stuff like that. So what happens is this: when your pipes get blocked up, your soakaway pipes, the first thing many people do is that they put the rods in. So let's say that's a rod. I don't know if you've ever rodded a pipe, but you get your pipes, and you rod them and you push them down, rodding. Well, that's what I mean by rodding. But what happens is, because this mass here, it'll either be too solid to push anything through, it just won't budge it or dislodge it, or it's kind of like a liquid solid mass. And so what happens is it just pokes through it and it just doesn't shift it, because it's almost like clay, but a bit slightly more watery. It'll just push through it and then pull it out, and it just doesn't do any good. So that's why rodding doesn't unblock a soakaway. Now, the next thing people try is to jet it. And what that is when the septic tank emptying man comes around, you'll notice he's got like a power wash on his you know, emptying vehicle, right? And so he can unwind it and then, you know, like one of those car washers, those jet washers. And what he does, he'll put the jets down, and they look something like that, okay? And they fire high-pressured water down the pipe, and it just never works. It doesn't work. In fact, it's the tanker companies, they make money from emptying the septic tank, from sucking the waste out. They also make a lot of money from jetting. Because jetting, let me show you what it does, right? Imagine this is your soak-away pipe. Now, they're underground. The pipe, let's say that's the soil there, okay? It's surrounded by soil. This water's got nowhere to go. Now, even if it was powerful enough to push the sludge out, this is an underground pipe. It's got nowhere to go. Soak-away pipes just either blocked at the end, because what happens is they have slits on the underside of them, right, to let the water out, or they're perforated. But the point being is, all that the jetting does is actually compress all that fat and grease and sludge. So it may push it back, right? It may push it backwards, but it just compresses, right, the fat and the grease and the sludge, and makes the problem worse. And then what happens is this: all that water that's been fired, hundreds of gallons or liters of water, right, then flows back into, yeah, you know where it goes back into, don't you? All right, let's say this is your tank. It's a bit of a small tank compared to that, but it just goes back into the tank and fills the tank up of water again. And so, right, you've just paid him to empty your tank. Now he's jetting it. He's filled your tank back up with water because the water ain't going into the soak-away, and you've got to pay him to take some more, right, water out, and you've paid him to jet it. It's without putting tanker companies down, it's something that just doesn't work, right? Jetting does work in some instances, but it's a money-making scheme. I mean, because look, at the end of the day, right, tanker companies, they make a living from emptying tanks, right? And so they ain't going to tell you that that ain't going to work. They ain't going to tell you, oh, I'm going to fill your tank back up with liquid, mate, and you know, because they're making money from it. It's just. You can see, you know, you can see it just doesn't work. I'm trying to be polite without putting the septic tank companies down, because septic tank companies, you know, the emptying companies are really, really, really good, and they do a good job. And, you know, if it wasn't for them, they couldn't clean the tanks out, and I couldn't decommission them. So don't get me wrong, septic tank emptying companies are amazing, and they do a really good job. All I'm saying is, right, is that one side of the service that they offer is just a money spinner. It doesn't really help the people who they're performing a service on for jetting, but it makes them a lot of money, but it doesn't fix the problem. And that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, it's been a long day, and it took me a little while to get my head around that, to be diplomatic, all right, because we all help each other. So I'm just saying, this particular avenue, this particular service, jetting, doesn't work. It just makes things worse, and you're paying someone to make your problem worse. Enough said, right, before I dig myself a bigger hole, right? So anyway, okay, so I digressed a bit there, but I get tired towards the end of the day. So anyway, okay, so that was, I hope that's answered your question, by the way. Probably a bit too much information, but nevertheless, if anyone's got a septic tank and a soak-away, you can now, you know, be a bit more circumspect before, you know, you go ahead with paying 150 quid to get your tank jetted. Do you want it jetted, mate? So, oh God, that bloke Jason from septictank.co.uk. I remember what he said. No, it's going to make the problem worse. So I'm just trying to give you some free advice and help you here. So look, I've been 20 minutes doing this. I wish I could just help you for hours and hours and hours answering all the questions. Thank you so much for your questions. I'm sorry that I can't answer them all. It's been a long day today, but look, if you want more videos, if you want more free help, I've done tons of videos explaining all this and more, right? Just go to septictank.co.uk and you'll get more help, lots of free help like this. And keep your questions coming. And so that's it. That's the end of my live broadcast today. Yeah, I'm gonna go and have some tea in a bit. By the time I get home, I'm gonna go and have some tea, and then it's Wednesday. So look, thank you so much for, as I said, taking your time out to watch me waffle on. But hopefully you've gleaned some gems in what I've had to say, right? Because at the end of the day, I do these videos to help you. I love helping people, and that's it. That's the whole reason I do this. So listen, have a great evening. Thank you so much for watching my live broadcast, and take care.